Salon Magazine recently tried to be daring with a story we have seen many times before in mainstream media. The account of an anonymous man who claims to be a pedophile but not an abuser. Todd Nickerson tells us a sad story about a difficult childhood and a sexual orientation which the universe cursed him with. What this aspiring author is omitting from his attempt at a disarming tale is the pedophile playbook he appears to be following. Number 1. Maintain secrecy. Pedophiles are very savvy when it comes to techniques of operational security. Todd claims to be no abuser and not a hoarder of child pornography. But how can we be sure he's telling the truth? Did the journalists or editors from Salon Magazine do more than just routine checks on a criminal background? Did they search Todd's entire apartment or house, every technical gadget he owns? Why isn't there a disclaimer at the beginning of the piece stating that Todd's most important claims cannot ultimately be verified? He lauds the online group called Virtuous Pedophiles and the so-called anti-contactors who claim to stay away from children. Are they totally transparent towards journalists? I doubt it. Police investigators do report cases of pedophiles who never get convicted, but even investigators can't know all the levels of secrecy of a pedophile. We are simply supposed to believe that Todd has never, during his tortured life, trawled the hidden encrypted back alleys of the internet in search of illegal material. Number 2. Conflate pedophilia with regular sexual orientations. Todd thinks he is clever. He sprinkles his article with references to homosexuality. He speaks of a sexual orientation and invokes the historical witch hunt against homosexuals. However, science today regards pedophilia a psychiatric disorder, and we're not living in the 1960s anymore. The claim that the American Psychiatric Association considers it to be an orientation is not true, but a misrepresentation of the facts. Studies show differences in the brain as well as links to other personality disorders. Calling pedophilia a sexual orientation is very close to calling for the legalization of pedophilia. Todd and his virtuous pedophiles may claim to be against sex with children, but it is very suspicious to conflate pedophilia with a sexual orientation because there is no legal ground for criminalizing a sexual orientation. Number 3. Use sympathetic journalists. Pedos and abusers dream of becoming legal. Therefore, they need to knock down the obstacle that is negative public perception, and for this, they need a media strategy. They seek out sympathetic, mostly left-wing journalists who fall for the poor me ploy. Journalists want to be edgy and provocative, so the pedos deliver a story that will live up to the expectations. Todd evokes emotions, paints lively episodes of his life, uses every trick to be disarming, and ultimately appeals to the ego of the intellectual reader. You are smarter than everyone else because you understand the pedophile topic. He sneaks in an accusation of how people in the south of the United States are supposedly backwards and cruel. Again, the left-wing reader feels superior because he is forming an opinion that differs from the views of those people in the south. Todd also mentions insecurities as one cause for pedophilia and appeals to any insecurities which the reader might have. Number 4. Try to get the laws changed. Todd does not outright call for a change of the laws. After all, he claims to be against sexual contact with children. But by conflating pedophilia with a sexual orientation, he indirectly preps the reader for the false conclusion that consensual sex with children or certain forms of child pornography should not be criminalized. Many pedophile organizations lobby for a reduced age of consent even though children's brains are underdeveloped and children's personalities are not mature enough. Another pedo pet project is the legalization of softcore child pornography. The pedo community suffered a heavy blow when United States and Canadian courts ruled that the popular movies from Azov films that were widely available until the bust during Operation Spade were not legal under the First Amendment. A legalization of softcore material would mean that a huge variety of production companies would be established that enjoy legal protection and can be used as a front for the distribution of harder material. Research shows that many pedos hoard images and videos on their computers and that their brains get bored quickly, needing crazier footage all the time. Number 5. Paint sex between adults and kids as harmless. Todd is a smart operator. He heaps accusations against pedophiles who abuse children and tries to establish credibility. But then he recalls an episode from his own childhood where an old family friend called Hans put his hand down his pants. Quote, "It was a one-time event in my life and not a particularly traumatic one." Well, good for you, Todd. Many victims of abuse are not so lucky. Why is Todd giving that man a pass? Why did his mother decide against reporting him? Maybe he was downright dangerous and has abused other children in a more severe way. Another quote, "Hans was different, gentle, soft-spoken, and appealingly awkward, a lot like me." Well, many dangerous people appear gentle and soft-spoken. Why is Todd's response so lame? In contrast to this, Todd gets very angry at the group Perverted Justice, who was behind the TV show To Catch a Predator, for listing him as a pedophile. So, a guy putting his hands down a boy's pants gets a meh response, but the listing of his name on a website is considered vigilantism. In the TV show, many men came to visit what they thought were kids they had found online. Those men had often sent naked images of themselves, talked for hours about teaching sex, and came with condoms and lubricants. Sorry, Todd, if parents around you are worried about you and your lame response to the gentle, awkward Hans putting his hand down your pants when you were a child. It's the parents' job to protect their children. Besides the laws and the public perception of pedos, there is another major obstacle for them. Almost no child whatsoever wants to have sex with a pedophile. Even if the laws were changed and public opinion changed, there would still be this obstacle, and the only ways around it are bribing kids, forcing kids, manipulating kids, showering them with fake attention and fake love. So just like with the example of Hans, somebody could play the awkward, gentle guy connecting to a child and, pretending to understand that child. So here you have it. This is the pedophile playbook exposed.